little bit of cramming for him because we've only got, including this one, 8 races to go in the qualifiers.
I'm wondering just how many people are going to see those last 5 and say, you know what, I've got some extra time. Yeah, I'm going to go and run them all. It looks like we're getting started.
We've got a Moon Pearl in the Sanctuary. Got a quick map check from Wadey. I missed that. I saw a crystal at Hera, but didn't see the others. Got 3 going straight for Uncle.
Well, I'm going to call it now. I think that heart in Link's house was... I mean, it's a conspiracy maybe until we find out later, but that was the Sank heart in reverse, in my opinion.
Yeah, we won't know unless we see a heart that fills their health.
And speaking of hearts that fill your health, that was our Tier 1 tree pull. Our runners finding out. Most of our runners on the restream heading to the Uncle first.
We're going to get an Aga check. Do we need to do Aga for Lumberjack? Oh, that's not an item you want to see there.
Also, I was immediately proven wrong about Sandcard just in front of the Uncle. But as you mentioned, that shovel could require them to dig real deep through this seed in order to find their next progression.
So it's pretty unlikely that shovel's going to be needed for anything, but it does lead to an item, so that's going to be on the back of their minds when they see it.
Another thing to consider as well is access to the West Dark World would be... Well, no, actually, yeah. In order to get to... Basically, you need to be able to just do the castle tower, and you'll have access to that location. So it could gate something pretty important. Although, as you mentioned, that's pretty much a long shot.
So that's Solsky. He's going straight for Saharsla. A little bit of a difference play. He gets a Quake Medallion out of it, and a sword, and a bottle. That'll actually pay off for Solsky if there's not a bottle in Kakariko. He'll get 1 extra check.
Yeah, advanced knowledge, definitely a factor in these qualifiers. Solsky didn't really lose anything not seeing that sanctuary immediately, as we can't do anything with that Moon Pearl for a minute.
And that Moon Pearl is our first piece towards Starkworld access. We still need either the hammer or 2 gloves, or the hammer and a glove. One of those combinations.
And in this format where we're fighting for every possible second we can get, hoping to get, I guess, the best meta score out of all of it, having a weapon is actually surprisingly important for traversing the overworld and other screens. You have a lot more options to deal with some of these guards who will definitely make you walk the long way.
So Dr. Bob gets a heart piece in the back of the tavern. Manta is checking blind set. There's some bombs. So far, nothing in blind set.
Yeah, we've seen it all throughout these qualifiers where Kakariko had plenty of stuff for us, but this has been pretty barren. It is nice that we have some rupees to walk away with, though.
Yeah, we'll be able to check bottle vendor, no problem. Can buy bombs later if needed as well.
While we're waiting for our runners to find some more items in the village, to address a question in chat regarding whether the times actually matter within the entire race. It's not just the 4 runners you see on the restream. There is at least a dozen more in the actual full race, as there's no cap to how many people can enter these races. There is a minimum that we need in order to get like some purity of data for the scoring, but no problems there.
Meanwhile, this well had all the value. We had a glove, a cane of Samaria, and a flute, all in the well.
It's really nice getting that flute right there.
Yeah, you can activate it right away, and that's going to be some faster travel throughout the seed.
So you just got a flute in Kakariko. Where's the first place you're heading to?
I think I'm going to say Shell Shore, because you can go Death Mountain, but it's only 1 extra check. 1 more if you want a sequence break. Solsky turned in that bottle with the sick kid and got another bottle.
He just needed to know that you were a bottle aficionado. He wanted to share his love for fine glass blowing, and it turns out he's actually a bottle, a glass blower.
Quite true today, I guess. But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that flute just yet. If I had gotten, say, the mirror or the hook shot up here, I would be very tempted to go straight up Death Mountain.
And that's another thing to consider about the size of these races. It is possible that someone out there would make that kind of lopsided play, and if it were something important, end up with some ridiculous advantage. But so far, we've noticed that in a lot of these seeds in this qualifier, very rarely is someone getting that far out ahead from something like that. It would seem overall you're rewarded for relatively conventional plays and decision making, as long as you don't have to last location something really awful.
There's a better check at the map. We have a blue pendant at Eastern, and then Desert and Hera are regular crystals. With the piece of heart at race game, Bonta says no. Bonta will start the South Shore checks first.
And starting that first chest in there with a nice chest turn as well. I saw that. Nice swag.
I haven't fully figured out how to get consistent chest turns yet. But yeah, it is just a swag maneuver. Though the randomizer does tell you how many chest turns you get now.
I mean, it's technically a one-frame mash, isn't it?
Probably. Sounds about right. There's another medallion, our Ether medallion. We haven't really gotten anything that's pointed us in a specific direction yet. But Bonta's gonna take some of that magic the crab is dropping.
Yeah, I noticed Solsky doing the same thing. I'm wondering if just trying to have some foresight for potentially using that Samaria as a weapon. See, none of them have a sword like Solsky does.
Yeah, and that Samaria actually can work really well in this cave, though bombs are generally the preferred way.
Yeah, that is one of the nice things about having a chance to buy bombs before coming here.
We have Weighty checking the back of Escape. Piece of heart, key, map. That's not a back of Escape we want to see. Dr. Bob going straight for Agana.
And while it's something of a fringe play, at the same time, not a lot of other locations to go to, and this one could potentially lead you to somewhere else since you do have the flute. Doesn't take too long to go check something else after that.
Well, we had Bonta check Mini Moldorm Cave, but nothing really in there. Yeah, we're kind of still looking for that big item that's going to point us in a specific direction.
Well, between Ice Rod Cave and, of course, Sequence Breaks and the mountain itself, really looking at, like, Eastern. That's about it.
Pretty much. Yeah, unless Ice Rod Cave comes up with something. We also have the front of Escape.
That's
and
true.
Zora is in logic with the glove.
Yeah, as a reminder, we might not have 500 rupees yet, but the game does always assume that you can get, you can fill your wallet entirely, so no item requirements to do, so you just need to be able to get to Zora.
And we find Bombos in Ice Rod Cave. That's all 3 medallions found 8 minutes in. So no ambiguity about our medallion dungeons today.
Well, I would say in a lot of scenarios that, would be kind of an indicator that it might favor an execution-based seed, but, Randomizer finds a way.
Of course. So we've got everybody... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's just strange. We're tying up loose ends and everybody's somewhere else.
Yeah, we got everybody retracing each other's steps right now. No new checks just yet. Well, we got a second. We should take a minute to thank our trackers for today.
Yes, I believe that is Zombie Punk and Oro, correct?
Yep, correct. So yeah, thank them for doing all their tracking on the screens today, and don't give them a hard time if they miss anything. Just be nice.
Yeah, to be fair, other than the couple of screens here, they're definitely spreading across the world, so it's kind of hard to keep up with sometimes. Thankfully, it's retracing the same steps, but I imagine later it'll be quite a headache.
So Bonta decided to save and quit. Interestingly, we're finding with this map and the small key in the back, that means the Dark Cross chest does have something, and all 3 chests in the front of Escape will have items as well.
Seen some really bad luck for Dr. Bob-tastic here with bombs in Mini Moldorm Cave. That was his 4th bomb that probably should have killed the Mini Moldorm, but that Moldorm hates it.
Wade's farming up some rupees. I think he's making a Zora play. Oh, I think Bonta... I thought he had saved and quit out of the back of escape.
Or did he go to the mountain?
Could have... maybe he's fluting and saving the old man. That could be a possibility.
Yeah, it looks like it. He's using his Samaria block to navigate.
Weighty Words is going to be the first to sequence break. Well, actually, technically Bonta is too, but this is only a 1-item sequence break. Weighty's going to be going for more than that. And with the Moon Pearl, Weighty can check the Waterfall Cave. There's a little glitch in how the game checks your walking states. And when you have the Moon Pearl, it doesn't check to make sure you have the flippers when you come out of a cave. So you can walk out of a cave as a result.
And if you think about it, it does kind of make sense. I mean, when they programmed it, they're like, well, you're probably this far into the game. If you're going to, have the Moon Pearl, you probably have this. So, I mean, it's strange, but, game's weird.
And Weighty found the Keen of Burna. Not a required item per se, but it is invulnerability, which can be nice later on. And the game does have some logic that requires you to have an invulnerability item to do things.
And it's never that bad of an item to get when you don't have a sword yet. As mentioned, invulnerability is a little more valuable when you can't use the spacing that a sword gives you.
So we got Weighty. He's going to give us a new check here in Waterfall Cave. These 2 items will be out of logic.
And potentially for a long time, depending on what they are, and where our flippers might be.
Oh, he finds a sword. So that's not too bad to find out of logic, especially since we know there's at least 1 sword in logic. Though that puts 2 swords in logic. If we get a lamp, things get interesting.
Yes, and I guess it would also depend on where the flippers would be, because I mean, if the flippers are going to be in a spot like say Eastern, particularly in the front half, that would give us a lot of components that you're talking about going up that castle.
Now, this check that Weighty Words is making is in logic because you only need a glove or the flippers to get up here.
Well, today, for 500 rupees, what's going to be?
It's an ice rod. We don't know if that's required yet, but that is a very good thing to find.
I guess ice is nice. I'm a little concerned that an aquatic king would portray his... would it be his predecessor? Or not his descendant, who actually gets frozen in ice in Ocarina of Time. That's a poor decision.
Actually, I think that's... Technically, Ocarina of Time happens before this, I think.
Look, I mean, someone's going to eventually have to get a straight answer out of Nintendo about this timeline.
True. We've got some different divergence here. Weighty Words is checking the front of escape. Bonta checking... There's another sword.
It's like they're growing out of trees, but thankfully, the 4th one we found out was not behind a tree.
Was that the lamp? That was the lamp. So, with one of the swords out of logic right now, we do still need flippers, but if we find flippers, Aga's in logic.
Yeah, this is quite the conundrum for our runners. Now, the knowledge of the sequence breaks, that we do see Dr. Bob-tastic doing the same water walk sequence break. I wonder if they're going to immediately try to do the Aghanim play, knowing they don't really have much unless they go to Eastern.
We got Solsky going in Eastern. We have not seen much from him there so far. There's our 3rd bottle.
Some of them about the seed in 3s at this point.
So Solsky, this check's going to be out of logic for him, though we know it's the item to put it in logic is available. Just rupees. I don't think he found anything in Eastern. So we see Weighty Words setting up a Death Warp. He's going to go check Dark Cross after this.
And that was also not good. Oh, I mean, it is nice though that he didn't complete that heart with that heart piece.
Now there is one other item you could find that could also put Aga in logic, and that is the cape. If we find the cape, then we don't have to worry about that flippers.
Yeah, that's true. That would otherwise be our replacement for the second sword, which, I mean, we have a lot of knowledge of it, so I'm wondering, and that's part of the reason that I'm wondering if anybody's going to do the Aghanim play, knowing that that almighty shovel might just be the gateway.
But here's the interesting thing. I think this item in Dark Cross has to be something. No, we can't. We got the powder, but we can't check the powder.
That's pretty bizarre.
All right, Wadey is in the Dark Cross room. Just has to get to the chest. He got something, but we didn't see it.
Was that Titan's Mitts?
Oh, okay, Titan's Mitts. There's our Dark World access.
Well, that does answer something. The likelihood of a shovel being relevant today is very minimal now.
Now, that doesn't kill Aga just yet, because they will need either the hammer or the flippers for full Dark World access. As of right now, you can only get to the western side of Dark Worlds.
Yeah, so a couple of really tough decisions for pretty much every runner in the race. We're all pretty much funneled at this point. Anybody who's in that race will eventually have to go to the West Dark World portal. Do you try, taking that through the dungeons? Do you go south immediately? I mean, Hype Cave is 5 items.
I think our first question is, what are our crystals? I think we're getting a quick check from Wadey as soon as he gets in the Dark World. There will be 2 pendants in the Dark World. Everything else is crystals. And we have Pendant Turtle Rock and Pendant Thieves Town. Of course, Pendant Turtle Rock when you get an early Ice Rod. I think our red crystals were Pod and Swamp.
Well, our first into the Dark World on Restream, Wadey Words will be heading, looks like Skull Woods. Only a few items here that you can really, or only a few things you can really check that are going to get you items. We don't have a fire rod, so we can't exactly go to the back half anyway. So on the bright side, this is pretty quick to do.
Yeah, the front of this is almost like a overworld check. And with the Key of Samara, the middle chest is also pretty quick. No key in the first 2 chests, so he's going to have to go through the pinball room.
And in the meantime, Solsky, with the actual lamp in hand, will have a much faster Dark Cross, finding out about his Titan's Mitts, and immediately saving quitting, of course. Looks like Dr. Bobtastic will go through the castle as well, and Banta is going to be disappointed pretty soon here.
Well, Wadey's side, nothing in Skullwood so far. He's going to bomb to the big chest. This is a pretty simple bomb jump once you learn the pixel alignment. Nothing so far, though. Only 3 checks left in Skull Woods. We'll see if that middle chest ends up being something. High chance it is.
And we do see another divergence in the Dark World immediately out of Solsky. Chat talking about the Mire Shed that Solsky's going after right now.
Oh,
so
that's a mirror. So that's a good pickup for Solsky. He'll be able to check checkerboard right now. And that's good routing early in the Dark World. That just gets you quite a few places.
Yeah, and it's one of those decisions that is hard to make when you have a Dark World portal at the Village of Outcasts. That's a really attractive place to go to early on. This is quick, though, and Solsky immediately going to capitalize on all of those checks.
So Wadey is out of Skullwoods. I believe he found 10 arrows for one item, so there's one item in the back of Skullwoods. They've got Green Pen and Thieves Town. That's always an interesting call. Thieves Town's a longer dungeon than you would think it is. It's a simple dungeon, but it's long if you decide to go through the back. So we'll see what Wadey decides to do there. Solsky is checking through Desert. Desert is boots locked.
However, we will be able to have a chance to get the big chest as we have the big key in that center room. So we'll have one more shot at an item here.
So with the small key on the torch, you could finish Desert without the boots, but technically by logic, with a key on the torch, it is boots locked. You're not expected to clear Desert until you have the boots.
And it's also a massive gamble when you have two items or two checks on the right side of the dungeon to try and steal that key.
So I think Solsky is going to go pick up that other sword he saw. And with the mirror, he could also make a trip into Hera.
Death Mountain definitely making sure that he has his trouble getting up there, though. Kind of a bad situation for Bonta having last location Titansmiths here in Dark Cross. We'll be finishing the rest of the front of Escape first as well, so that's going to be kind of tough to recover from, but does have a Master Sword to work with. Nobody else does.
Dr. Bob's making his play into Eastern. Wadey did check the front four, but left right away. He's not going to do the back just yet. It looks like Wadey might have got the fire rod in the front of Thieves. We might have missed that.
Yeah, we did see him take a death. I believe that was actually a death ward, as he's intending to leave the dungeon without the mirror, so that sounds about right.
Our tracker is confirming. Yep, there he did get the fire rod.
So
I'm
fire
surprised
rod...
a little.
Oh, sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
a little surprised he didn't go straight back to Skull Woods. There's still an item there, and
Yeah,
it's a crystal dungeon.
That's kind of a tough scenario to be in. Like, which route do you go? You can either continue going south, as we see Wadey is doing now. He is bringing the frog with him, which is, convenient routing. But we know where that mirror's at, so this is going to be kind of rough to not be able to do some of these extra checks, too.
Well, Solsky's in Hera. Looks like we have a basement required Hera today. He's going to go for Hype Cave, which is a good check to get to. 5 items. Unfortunately, he won't be able to go any farther than Hype Cave. No hammer, no flippers. He can't get to the east side.
Although, wouldn't it be hysterical if both were in there?
It would be quite funny. He's down to 1 bomb, but that's just enough to get through here. There's some bombs for him, a heart container, 20 rupees, and more bombs. Pretty not Hype Cave today.
Yeah, kind of like the Logic sniped him cave.
Sounds about right. So we got Solsky climbing Hera. This is a crystal dungeon. He's got to complete it regardless.
So it's kind of interesting to think about Wadey where it's having gone that direction, because maybe these other runners will go, back to Skull Woods. If they put off Hype Cave, they may be forced to do things in different orders. So we may see this unfold kind of in a weird, tangled way, depending on how all the other runners on Restream react to Fire Rod.
Oh, there's the boots in Hera. So far, this Solsky's route is just paying off.
Yeah, and not only that, but to get the boots when you are likely ahead, I don't see the I don't see the streams of all the other racers, but that's a pretty early check. It's even better to get those as soon as possible. A lot of these other runners will likely spend a long time walking through the world.
We got Wadey heading down to the Mire shed now. We'll get his mirror. We'll see what he chooses to do with that. Interestingly, those boots, I believe, put all of Mire in logic.
That is correct.
An early
The
Mire
question
dive.
is, do you want to do that with 1 or 2 level sword?
Yeah, an early Mire dive is kind of ugly, but you can do it.
I think the one thing that would put me off from it is there's only 2 items.
Yeah, but it's also a crystal dungeon, and you kind of want to just push crystals as much as you can in these seeds. It's a tough call, but it might be a worthwhile one.
Of course, randomizer, sometimes it turns out, we could even have a hammer in the first chest of swamp. Stuff like that just, goes bonkers and sideways, so it remains to be seen if Mr. Mire happens to have something clutch. Solski's heading back in that direction right now, actually, although he could be going back to Desert.
Yeah, I think he's going to do Desert first.
Though, as you mentioned, this would be a great thing to combo with it. I think maybe if it wasn't boots, he probably wouldn't be considering Mire at all. If he had a hookshot instead, he'd probably be doing something completely different.
Answer a quick question, Chad. Solski's got the 2 swords he knows about. He doesn't know about the sword in the waterfall yet.
Well, Bonta will give us a chance to see the dig game as we see Dr. Bob Tastic taking that fire rod, as we mentioned in Thieves Town. Weighty Words will join Solski in Desert, opting to do the back half, actually.
I don't recall... Well, Solski just checked the right side of Desert. I don't know if there was an item on Landmola's. With Fire Rod, though, you don't have a full magic bar, but with Fire Rod, this is a bit of an easier fight.
Yeah, and of course, the game originally did intend you to have a level 1 sword fighting the boss, so it's not exactly like it would be super challenging. It would just be time-consuming if we end up not having enough magic. Although Solski's in pretty good shape for that. He does have a full magic meter and potions.
Unfortunately for Weighty Words, he's got to do a slower Landmola's fight here with just a level 1 sword.
Yeah, so that'll be 8 slashes for every worm he did not touch with the fire rod. Spins do no more damage with Fighter Sword.
Yeah, Solski with a near full magic. He doesn't have the fire rod yet, so he can't. He has to do. Well, he has Master Sword at least, and Master Sword spins will do more damage. They'll do Temper Sword to him.
Did you see him try to use that Samaria block to spin off of it?
I did, yeah. I've seen more runners do that.
Ganon Master Sword. What the heck?
Yeah, I've seen more runners doing that strategy yet, but mostly on Ganon.
It's a bold move, and I really appreciate his gumption to attempt it.
That's Solski's second crystal. Weighty also grabbed his first crystal. Let's see what these runners do. Weighty's gonna check checkerboard. Solski, would he make the Mire play?
He's there, and as you mentioned, the equipment set's not even really that rough. I wouldn't want to do Master Sword Victory so I can avoid it, but
hey,
maybe we'll find that 4th sword in there.
He's going for Mire.
You find something great here, and that's a huge edge on people who have a little more trouble with Mire at low percent.
I think this is a good move overall. I would, personally, if I had that Fire Rod, I'd do Skull first, but he doesn't know where the Fire Rod is yet. And yeah, that's pretty much the only dungeon that's really on logic right now. So if you're gonna push crystal dungeons, this is a good one to go for.
Well, we did see Dr. Bobtastic take the same route that Wadywars did initially in the Dark World, heading towards that south sequence of checks. So he'll also be forced to go get his mirror pretty soon. I don't think anybody's gone to K45 with the mirror in tow since everybody's been diving dungeons once they found it.
Pretty much, yeah. No one's gone that route yet. Wady's going back to Skullwoods now. So one item in the back. Let's see what he finds back there.
Yeah, not exactly an ideal scenario to be fighting Mothula with a level 1 sword, but it's doable. You know, and we do have options with that fire rod. I think the only person we've seen buy potions is Solsky.
Yeah, though it looks like Waywoods may not have picked up a bottle yet.
Wait, there were 3 of them. Is that possible?
Well, one of them was on sick kit, which you need a bottle to check. I don't think he hasn't been to the back of Saha yet, and he did escape. Maybe he does have a bottle. Yeah, he does. Okay, our tracker's just being weird.
Simply befuddled.
Okay, our tracker is just being kind of weird. It's probably still not updating correctly. Now it's up there. I think we've had a few issues with it updating today, so...
Yeah, but that would have been absolutely mad if there... Like, I mean, I've never seen that before in a race either, you know, where somebody has, like, 3... Well, I mean, look at the diversity in bottle counts right now. Like, 3, 2, 1, and 1.
We have some fried eggplant on the Solsky's screen as he takes a death.
Ouch, getting his goose cooked.
It's more of eggplant cooked.
Do you think eggplant would pair well with goose?
I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like they're more hearty. Like eggplant's more hearty vegetable. I see it used as a lot more as like as an entree in vegetarian dishes. I don't know what its usage is beyond that.
Well, I'm sure you and I and everybody else know, you know, SpeedGaming chat prefers bacon. They are carnivores, so we're hoping these runners will manage to accomplish that task. This has been kind of a strange one so far.
We got Wady taking on Mothula. Going Friday Sword Spins. Friday Sword Spins are kind of nice on this fight because the lag frames will help you dodge the spikes. And you kind of want to... With Green Mail, you got to be very careful. Spikes are 1 heart of damage. Mothula hits are 2 hearts.
Yeah, everybody but Solsky has picked up a fair number of hearts so far. You know, having basically last location, most of them the mids. Even then, even with 10 hearts, it is still pretty difficult. And Weighty Words finishes it with 3 remaining. What do we get for Mothula? A heart piece.
Now, actually, there's another thing we should bring up with those boots. With those boots in the mirror, Aga is in logic, and that shovel's still sitting at Slumberjack.
So, I mean, what would be the one thing orphaned here? You know, the cynic in me feels like it's a dirty bow.
That would be rough. But I feel like these runners, especially with Fire Rod and Titans, you're going to sequence break Ice Palace before anything else. We have Ice Palace access, but without the flippers, you kind of don't want to do it.
Yeah, I guess flippers is a thing, though, or maybe even mushroom to lead to something else that we need. I mean, we haven't seen hammer either.
So, quick answer a quick question in chat. When we're talking about logic, the game has a logic that's programmed to it to make sure you can complete everything. When we're talking about checks that are in logic, it means checks that the game would say that could happen, essentially. When we're talking about checks that are out of logic, it's essentially checks you're not meant to make yet, but you can. Basically, there's things in the game that you can do that the game expects you to be able to do. There's other things that the game does not expect you to be able to do. Oh, that's a hook shot.
Oh, wow, is that in the bait chest?
No, that was in the compass chest. So that opens up all of Eastern Death Mountain.
I have just discovered I am on a couple seconds delay of you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I think that this Mire dip is required, where you have to make an early Mire dip.
So that gives you parts of Death Mountain, gives you well, Hookshot Cave actually. Quite a lot of stuff.
Basically, all of Death Mountain, all of Eastern Death Mountain with the mitts and the mirror. You can get like everything on Eastern Death Mountain, and well, actually, we can't get into Turtle Rock yet. We don't have a hammer. That's about the only thing in Death Mountain you can't do right now, or Spike Cave because no hammer.
So there is a scenario that could potentially be a pitfall for Solsky based on how he approached the seed, as he is definitely the most divergent from the rest of the runners in this race. If Hammer were, say, in like Hookshot Cave or East Death Mountain or something like that, might not be able to do a Turtle Rock that could have things that are, you know, something required on Trinex, which everybody else would be able to finish, having found their fire and ice rods.
We're gonna have to watch Solsky do this Vitreous fight. Meanwhile, we got Banta and Bob pretty much not quite synced, but we're pretty close there. They're gonna get their boots if they finish up here, which they should. And yeah, actually, those interestingly enough, those boots were required to get into Mire, since the hookshot was in Mire.
And we also have another extraneous check. Weighty Words with the chest in tow will check the magic bat.
Just a heart piece. With the flute, this isn't too long of a check, though.
Yeah, and of course you do it just because, you know, you can do both that and the chest. It's pretty nice to be able to combo them and then know, you know, you don't have to deal with it at that point.
Well, if this pays off for Weighty, that could be big for him. Nope, just a piece of heart. Meanwhile, Solsky's playing Whack-A-Viddy.
You know, I never really would have thought about eggplants poking eyeballs, but this is kind of one of those scenarios where you're seeing it live.
Yep, and that eyeball's been poked to death. I get a bug net.
Tough. Well, that's an interesting thing to pick up just for quality of life. Obviously, that'll never be important for logic. In the meantime, we're seeing Hera completion out of Banta and Dr. Bobtastic. Banta, unfortunately, taking a fall, but Tempered Sword, definitely the better way to fight.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the other advantage that some of these other runners have over Solsky right now is Tempered Sword versus Master Sword is a big difference. And it could take Solsky a while before he goes to Waterfall Cave. So he's not getting Tempered Sword unless he finds that fourth sword.
I would even say Tempered Sword and Master Sword being the difference between how many people even want to run low percent in this game.
It sounds about right.
Did you see those dead rocks? Oh, he got the triple hook shot. Solsky's on fire.
Yeah, that eggplant is roasting. I can't come up with the puns quite as well.
You know, honestly, it fits. You know, I saw streaks coming from the back of him. He was definitely at full speed. Speaking of full speed, Weighty Word's the only one on Restream who hasn't been to Hera to get the boots.
If he's heading up Death Mountain now, I gotta imagine Hera's gonna be his play. You don't leave a Hera that you can do, a Crystal Hera that you can do undone for long.
Yeah, so Weighty Words will absolutely get those boots. We are seeing other boots checks. Banta is going to check Bonk Rocks for us, I believe the first on Restream to do so, while Solsky's in Paradox Cave.
There's our hammer. And our silver arrows. So, that is a very interesting scenario. That Turtle Rock is you can, for the other runners when they get up here, they can complete Turtle Rock, which is a pendant though.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing I was kind of worried about with Solski, because, I mean, that would be the doom scenario for him, where the God Route turns into, like, oops, I accidentally all dungeoned.
I mean, looking at
However, if it's anywhere else, he's golden.
looking at our chat though, I mean, we're just kind of, they're starting to talk about go mode. I think it's just bow and flippers at this point.
Yeah, and flippers being there wouldn't be that awful, since you would probably end up leaving, you know, because you don't have any rods to, or any of the fire rod or ice rod to work with. Although maybe you would go in. I mean, you can definitely still get everything but Trinex.
Yeah, and those flippers are hard required in the seed since Swamp is a crystal. No getting around the fire or the flipper requirements.
I guess the tough part about like going into Turtle Rock right now is you can really only advance if you don't need that fire rod, which is, you know, possible. It's just that's kind of a lot of things lining up.
There's a half magic for Solski. Bonta making the right play too. He's diving Mire.
So that'll be two players with hookshot. Bonta will have a possibility of considering basically where all these items are going to take us. I believe Bonta hasn't been into Thieves Town. Is that correct?
Yeah, he hasn't been to Thieves Town. So far, it looks like only Dr. Bob and Wadey have been into Thieves Town.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see if something important is in Turtle Rock. That could be the difference maker in the seed at this point.
I think Solski's going to go in. Now, as you said, without either rod, for him to get very far, the keys would have to line up. Basically, to get to, you can get to Laser Bridge, but you would need keys in the first chest, the Chain Chomp chest. You would then need the big key in its vanilla location, and another key in the roller room.
So, I mean, it's possible that even, resigning potentially to the possibility that you're not going to have those keys, since it's pretty likely that you wouldn't, maybe Solski's doing this for intel. I mean, if there is a clear path through, why not play the route that would give you the most possible benefit? And he may already understand that he's likely double dipping this anyway.
Well, it's also a pendant, so I think he's hoping he doesn't have to double dip. There's a first chest key. We can keep going. Ooh. You don't want to swing your sword when you're on that. If you happen to hit those berries while they're electrocuted, that's a fall.
In the meantime, Weighty Word's picking up the last pair of boots on Restream while Bonta is finishing out the Mire completion to get his hook shot. Dr. Bob Tastic currently leaving Skullwood. Will be the first to see the Bumper Cave.
Yep. We have not seen Bumper Cave yet. Just a piece of heart. Another key! We can keep going in Turtle Rock.
Also, did we just miss, did Bonta just do a hover to get to that chest? Or, I'm sorry, to get through from the big key chest?
He might have. Chat's going crazy.
Chat, and I'm not trying to be this guy, but that might be the sort of thing you want to clip, for posterity's sake. That's pretty impressive.
So, next chest is important for Solski. Let's see what he gets. At a minimum, he'll be able to get to Mimic Cave at this point.
I definitely like that he's using Bombos here to take care of the Hokuboku. That's a good strategy.
Okay. Blue mail. Not what you were hoping for. But you do still have one more chest. So we got a blueberry eggplant now. I'm
trying to fathom the flavor, but I just cannot.
Yeah, I can't either.
Maybe we should ask him in the interview. So, if you are interested in finding out the answer to that question, you should absolutely stick around for the rest of this race. But while we're kind of in a brief lull between items, great time to remind you, give these runners a follow. They've been putting on a great show for us, and I can tell you that all 4 of them are worth watching individually.
All right, Solsky checking Mimic Cave. This is the last check he can do up here.
Everybody waiting in anticipation. I mean, come on, it's rando. This has to be something, right?
Well, with that hammer, you got Eastern Dark World now, so... Oh! Okay!
This delay is killing me right now.
I think you need to refresh your stream.
I've tried it like 20 times. Yeah, so the flippers, wow. So, I mean, that's insight, though. So maybe Solsky can't finish up Turtle Rock or anything. Maybe he doesn't need to. Likely doesn't need to at this point. But yeah, Swamp and Ice Palace just became wide open to him.
Now, this
yeah,
is...
he has Bombos. He can do Ice Palace.
Now, there's one thing to note with Solsky. This is also kind of bad for him because of that fire rod that's in the front of Thieves Town. He's got... With Bombos, he might dip ice before Thieves. And if it's a potential go mode Ice Palace, that could put him behind. It depends on where that bow is. And of course, there's also a potential disaster if, say, Bow's on Laser Bridge.
Yeah, so Bow on Laser Bridge would be rough. Bow in an annoying part of Ice Palace could potentially be rough depending on how he approaches the rest of these dungeons. This is probably the turning point for the rest of the seed. I mean, I don't think everybody else is going to jump into Turtle Rock in this scenario, so if it was Ice Palace, that could be good for the other runners. That's an easier sequence break to consider.
Bonta's doing Desert Quick. We've got Wadey and Mire. He's going to get his hook shots. Wadey's going to be the guy to watch because he's the only guy who's going to be the first guy potentially who could get to Turtle Rock with the ability to full clear it. But we'll have to see what he does after he gets the hook shot. Because he might
of course, you know, we are kind of building a lot of hype for Turtle Rock, both of us on mic, but, you know, it might end up being nothing. But at least we'll find out. Weighty Words will be the advocate for the viewer here.
We got Solsky in the swamp. Bonta is going to go do Eastern Death Mountain now.
Regarding question in chat for Bow being required for Go mode, there are situations where no dungeons that you have to complete require Bow, but no matter what, you're always going to need it for the Mimics in Ganon's Tower every time.
Yeah. There is a clip that you can get through the Mimics without the Bow, but that clip is currently banned for randomizer races. It could be allowed in the future, but for the purposes of the qualifiers, that clip is banned.
Alright, well, fresh off of Misery Mire completion, Bonta heading up to Paradox Cave. Weighty Words trade place is heading to Misery Mire himself. We'll be getting his hook shot soon. We see Dr. Bobtastic, of course, finishing up Desert, which we've seen Lamolus already. But Solsky is the one giving us new territory here in Swamp Palace. We're going to see that waterfall chest here, or not waterfall chest, the south of Central Room chest.
We've been focused on Solsky a lot, but he's just been the one that's giving us the most new information.
Yeah, he's really been a true trailblazer in this seed. We don't obviously see all of the racers in the entire race, but on the restream, certainly the first one out the gate in a lot of this logic.
Solsky's going to the left side right away, which makes sense. He got a map and the big key. There's at least one item on the left. He almost hit that switch without grabbing the small key. I saw him going for that switch.
It's an easy reflex. Like, if you're doing the vanilla speedrun NMG, you would never be in that scenario because you don't have a hookshot walking into the dungeon. But stealing the key allows you to just simply go through 2 less screen transitions. It does save a decent chunk of time.
If Dr. Bob on land molas with Fire Rod and Temper, this will be a pretty easy fight. Bonta's got his hammer. He's doing Dark Death Mountain. We'll see what he does after he's gotten through Hookshot Cave. Actually, I have a quick question. Did Solsky... Solsky didn't do, Spiral Cave. So that's still sitting there.
Yeah, that is a little strange. I don't think he did.
So that's another location we gotta keep our eyes on. It was kind of awkward with just how the way the routing worked, but yeah, just another location to think about.
Yeah, it's not exactly every scenario where you know, you're that tempted to go into Turtle Rock, although that was quite a fortunate decision.
Bonta's gonna check Spiral. There's the cape. We don't really need that at this point, though.
Unless... No, I'm just kidding. You know, the Aghanim play for Shovel still lingering in the back of some of our minds. Although Cape would obviously not be required for that. We did see Bumper Ledge, it was meaningless.
Oh! That's the bow!
Well, quite a windfall for Bonta, who is having some trouble with the early game, getting last location out of Titan's mids. Solsky is likely to check that before Turtle Rock double dip, I would think.
Yeah, Solsky's going to be checking a lot of dungeons for that, and unfortunately that also leads Bonta away from Turtle Rock for the flippers.
Yeah, that is a definite downer.
Yeah, this race I think just reopened wide up. Opened wide up again. I can't even say who's... I still feel like Solsky's got the advantage, but this race just opened up. I don't know when Solsky's going to go back up there.
Are you saying that this just turned into I don't know who's going to win this race mode?
Absolutely. So, yeah. So at this point, we got Wadey who needs to go up Death Mountain to get the bow, flippers, and hammer. All up there. Bonta's got to go into Thieves Town to get the Fire Rod and back up to get the flippers from Turtle Rock. Solsky's got to go into Thieves Town to get the Fire Rod and then to Spiral Cave for the bow. Yeah,
the diversity in color palettes on these screens is pretty incredible. We are just in all different corners of the world.
And kind of the way that Turtle Rock played out, you couldn't even, for like Solsky and for if Bonta had gone in there, you couldn't just mirror back to the start. You were just kind of, it was going to be awkward to get back there from Mimic Cave. Wadey's best bet right now is going to be to full clear Turtle Rock and then do Spiral right after. If he does that, I think he's going to grab the lead.
I'm trying to think of like what kind of item could be an upside, but we do already have Tempered Sword. Maybe a bottle potion or something, but I mean there's nothing significant that you would really want to get off of Trinex. So I mean, while yes, it is a safe bet to full clear it, the point being made is also that he's likely to.
So Solsky's through Swamp. He didn't get anything in there, not even a sword upgrade or anything. And he's going for Ice Palace. He's probably doing I think it's going to be or maybe he's not going to Ice just yet. Let's see.
I don't believe he's seen any of the water checks, so he's checking everything, including the island and potentially Hobo.
There's just a hard container on there. Yeah, he's going to go do Hobo. He's not doing Ice quite yet, but it would not surprise me if that's his play after this. If If he does Waterfall Cave, he'll get his Tempered at least. Meanwhile, I got Bob going through... Bob's going through Mire right now. If he keeps going, he'll get his hook shot and put him back on the right track as well.
Yeah, and Bob will be pretty close to being able to pretty much go mode anything he wants from there. We'll also have a chance to go moding Ice. Because you got to think, once you get that hook shot, you're going with Death Mountain. There's no way.
Yeah. And Solski's dip in Ice Palace. For him, this is absolutely the right move. We just know he's not going to find... Oh, never mind. Not Ice Palace quite yet. I'm just pretty certain he's going to go to Ice.
So, I mean, there's also ways to infer based on key logic in Ice Palace and potentially use your keys wisely to do the dungeon faster. So, I mean, it might not necessarily be a 100% clear. Solski could win back some of the time that the others are likely to go mode if he does get a good key RNG and is shrewd about it.
Okay, so Wadey is checking Spiral right now. I think he might do the same thing Banta does after he gets his bow and go to Pod, because it's a crystal dungeon you can finish.
Yeah, and of course, you basically knock out everything in the overall area. It's nice to kind of, section off everything when you're still looking for like one or two. Obviously, that's preferred in most routing scenarios. But as far as we know, we're not going to find really anything of value at this point going forward.
Yeah, and...
I don't think anybody cares about Gold Sword.
Yeah, nobody cares about golds, at least for these runners. If you get a gold, you'll take it, but you're not going to really care. Solski's reclimbing. This is interesting.
Well, it almost seems to me like...
He's going Spike Cave.
Okay, so we're tying off some loose ends here. And he does get to do the other check on the other side of the mountain if he doesn't leave the mountain. Yeah, it's kind of strange. I wouldn't have thought to do Spike Cave, but it's definitely something that a lot of other runners wouldn't have thought to do either, so you may be considering that.
So Dr. Bob gonna do Burna and Tempered strats, which is pretty easy. With the Tempered Sword, I think that Wadey and Banta both also had on this fight becomes a lot easier. He's fluting away. Now this is the Ice Palace play.
Well, that's a rough break for Solski for now. Very unlikely to be going back up there before checking Thieves Town.
I believe Banta just finished Pod. Let's see what his next play is. Looks like a mushroom turn-in.
He does get a 3 times rebate from Kiki the monkey, having defeated the larger creature within the dungeon, getting 300 rubies as the rule.
I like Bob's strats on Vitreous here. Got him cornered in the corner, slashed away, and Vitreous down.
The doctor said he was seeing sparkles. We now understand why. Prescribed some kind of cotton swab to use to douse the vitreous from the eyes.
Alright, we got Banta's heading into Dark Village. If he goes Independent Thieves Town, he'll at least get the Fire Rod, which is an item he does need. So, yeah, it looks like he's going into Thieves Town. So this is good for Banta. He'll at least get his Fire Rod. So kind of give a quick update on the items that we're still looking for. Or, we're not looking for anything. The items that the runners are still looking for. The bow is in Spiral Cave. The flippers are in Mimic Cave. The Fire Rod is in the first chest of Thieves Town.
Yeah, and beyond that, pretty much everything has been discovered by each runner. Only other variances I'm really detecting here, like shields, the blue mail, obviously, and lava chest.
Well, we got Dr. Bob climbing Death Mountain. I'm interested to see how he routes this. Because Bob could make a play right now, and if he checks both Mimic and Spiral while he's up here, all of a sudden he is like rocketing into. Well, I don't think he'll be in the lead, but he'll definitely be in a good advantage.
Yeah, that's a commanding position to be in. Once you know you have go mode, and even if you have a few crystals to go, being able to go mode Ice Palace is so ridiculously fast compared to full clearing it. That alone is a significant advantage over pretty much anybody else who hasn't found go mode by then.
We're seeing now Bonta doing overworld checks. He just did Pig Game. He's checking Magic Bad. He's going to turn in the purple chest. Basically, these runners are... I don't want to say they're getting desperate, but they're definitely starting to feel the strain of the seed.
Yeah, these are definitely checks that you do when you feel like either one, you need to make a gamble against your opponents earlier in the race, or if you are just trying to find like anything, you need just one item and there's only a few overworld ones that take forever to check. But you don't do these early, not unless you're trying to do something against the pack.
So Dr. Bob going into Spiral Cave, he'll get his bow. And I think once you get that bow, I think he'll make the exact same play as the other runners. He'll probably go for pod.
Yeah, you've been pretty consistent with that. Weighty Words did follow through on that exact idea. Taking advantage of having that Samaria and Silver Arrows to clear through rooms incredibly quickly on the way to Helm of Swords. There's Dr. Bobtastic's bow and Spiral Cave.
He
He
didn't flutes.
Or I'm sorry, he needs flippers still. Sorry, my bad.
He's going for Turtle Rock.
Oh, so he has a good chance of getting go mode.
He could be the first runner to hit go mode. Dr. Bob is all... I mean, Dr. Bob, he's kind of been behind this whole race, but if he follows through in the Turtle Rock play, he's about to get a commanding advantage.
Yeah, by the looks of things, the only thing going on for the other runners that would give them something to level with is completion of one crystal for both Solski and Bonta, but the ability to go mode Swamp is like a significant time advantage. The ability to go mode Pod, another significant advantage.
I wasn't paying attention where the big key in pod is.
Yeah, I did miss that.
I'm sure Chad will tell us. Yeah, you potentially... I mean, just go moding Swamp and Ice. That's huge. Okay, he opened it. He hasn't checked his Dark World stuff yet.
Yeah, so don't panic, Chad. He does still have other items to look at. Quite a few, actually. We're going to get a Cold Stare fight from Solski in the meantime. No Fire Rod, but Tempered Sword's not bad at all, and he does have potions.
Yeah, and he's got Blue Mail that'll save a little damage, but that was a pretty easy Cold Stare fight. That's pretty much an MG Cold Stare minus the Fire Rod. Weighty going back into Eastern. I'm guessing there's an item on Armos. Oh no, he hasn't even been in Eastern yet.
Although I guess the one nice thing about it is if you're going to be doing it anyway, at least you have boots.
Yeah, I think Solstice's going to start doing some overworld checks.
Yeah, this is a rough situation for him. Not a lot of things that feel good to be doing at this point.
Bob's going into Turtle Rock. All Bob has to do is get to Mimic Cave, and he'll be in go mode. Now he'll do the right side, which we have not seen yet. Of course, that's how you would route this regardless in Turtle Rock with the Fire Rod.
Yeah, which makes the play from Solsky so ridiculous. As far as the logic could take you.
Vanta's got his 5th crystal out of Skull Woods. He has to go to Turtle Rock. But, I mean, he could dip Eastern or Thieves Town, depending on... I don't recall if there's an item still in Eastern. Thieves Town also has that green pendant, so it's a little bit nicer to go check.
Yeah, Banta did do the front 4 of Thieves Town, but as I mentioned, it's just...
Banta's climbing. This might be his Turtle Rock play. Or is he go?
I find it... Sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say, he's going to go Spike Cave. No, he's climbing. I think this is Turtle Rock for Banta.
Well, that's good news, because, I mean, I can definitely imagine a lot of people really just trying to orphan as much as possible those late checks in Turtle Rock, given the item configuration. So it's definitely a smart move for them to be going there with these rods. Dr. Bob having a somewhat anxiety-filled session with the chomps here, but does make it through.
Gonna take a health refill with the powder.
Oh, so Solsky just went to check Lumberjack. That's interesting. With a couple sword slashes to show discontent, I'm wondering if Solsky thinks there's something important behind that.
I think he's basically thinking if that's important, no one's checking that until late unless they make a huge gamble. He hasn't been in the Village of Outcasts at all, though. That's interesting.
Yeah, over an hour in. What a strange scenario this has turned out to be. I mean, how often do you see somebody in Turtle Rock, somebody in Armos fight, C-shaped house, and the entrance of Turtle Rock at the same time?
Yeah, this is a pretty rare scenario. Bob's gonna grab Blue Mail. He's closing in on Mimic Cave. He's closing in on being the first runner in Go mode.
And of course, just to clarify, if you're jumping in late to the race, this is just the 4 racers from this overall race that have been selected. There are at least a dozen more in the overall qualifier. These were just the 4 that we are commentating over for you today. So we will let you know once the racers are starting to finish on Restream where placements are around that. But for now, this is all we really have to look at. So we don't know if somebody else has already managed to do even better routing than this.
Looks like we're having a quick technical difficulty on Banta's side, so... But right now our eyes are on Dr. Bob, about to hit Mimic Cave. Oh, Solsky just picked up his Fire Rod.
And it's interesting because, I mean, usually if you delay a Fire Rod pickup, I mean, obviously you didn't know what it was, but that's usually more punishing than it was today. He really didn't get punished at all for not having it. One could almost call it spooky just to have that Fire Rod so deep in the seed.
That's kind of true. At 1 hour, 8 minutes, 22 seconds, Dr. Bob is the first runner in Go mode. And we've got Banta and Waiting Words closing in behind.
And in that order, actually. As we have another rotation of where we are in the world overall. Another case of at Lava Chest and at Entrance, strangely enough.
And unfortunately for Solsky, at least among our Restream runners, he's kind of gone from in prime position to in a pretty tough spot. He needs to go up and check Spiral Cave as soon as possible, or he's going to start to fall behind.
Yeah, I mean, this play, for example, is a really good case in point. I mean, it's nice of him to, go to Skullwoods to try and find stuff, but if he were to continue on to Mothula like it looks like, that's a big time sink.
Well, not really, because it's a crystal. You've got to clear this anyway.
Oh, I was misreading the trackers. Sorry, the commentary restream is a little lower resolution. Yeah, I was looking at Thieves Town. Yeah, so it's good that he's able to finish crystals. If he were trying to spend his time in more pendant dungeons, he would be eating a lot more of the time that he had gained from his earlier good routing.
Bob knows he's in go mode. He's skipping chests. And at this point, you got everything you need. You got blue mail, you got silvers, you got a tempered sword. You don't need anything else.
I gotta imagine he feels pretty excited in this scenario. Finding out you can go mode 3 crystals. That's quite the windfall.
1 hour, 10 minutes, 16 minutes, Bonta hits go mode about 2 minutes after Dr. Bob. Bonta just has Ice Palace and Swamp Palace to get through. I'd say right now Bonta's got the lead. Dr. Bob has still 3 dungeons to get through. He still has to also get through Pod.
I'm kind of wondering in this scenario what order you prefer to do it in. There's really no upgrade you're looking for. What about you, JP? If you were in Dr. Bob's shoes right now, which dungeon would you want to finish first just for the sake of it, since it's all pretty much the same at this point?
Swamp Palace first, then Ice, because I want the full health refill going into Ice.
See, that's the philosophy that wins the races.
Yeah, I definitely want full health in Ice, so I would do Swamp first.
Wait, are we almost bringing up the Swamp before Mire conversation from NMG here? If only they hadn't finished Mire yet.
That's an interesting conversation, and I also subscribe to the same theory there too. Swamp before Mire because I want the full health refill going into Mire.
See, I am actually on the other side of that camp. I believe sword climbs are the best thing in existence. They save 1,000,000 years per run. Everybody should do them. But that's okay. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to take JP's opinion either. You can have your own route. You can fake flipper into Ice Palace if you want to.
It's not recommended, but yes, you can do that.
Exactly. But back to the race. Sorry, folks. Actually, it's a good point to bring up, though, that you can get health refills. That may be a reason to tactically choose certain dungeons in a go mode completion order. So if you're in a situation like Dr. Bob in a race, consider that. Which dungeon do you think you're going to need full health to walk into first?
Yeah, and Argus with Tempered Sword is a very easy fight, so I'm not worried about health there. Wait, what are you doing? Okay. He was just checking that chest quick. That's actually not a bad check. That is pretty quick. So I was about to panic there.
And it definitely makes more sense if you have Mirror equipped.
There's Dr. Bob's 5th crystal. Bonta's on his way to Argus 2 in 1 hour, 12 minutes, 55 seconds. Wady's in go mode. Meanwhile, Solsky, he's finished Skullwoods. He's got to go to Spiral Cave.
That's all that stands between him and Helmasaur King to put him in position to finish up the race. I mean, he could be the last one in go mode on the restream if he heads right there right now, but he would still be in first place as far as the restream goes.
Yeah, if he went to Spiral Cave right now, he'd still have the advantage. Because he only has 1 crystal left to do. But the longer it takes, the more he's going to fall behind.
Honestly, I think if he was going to do it, he would do it right after Purple Chest.
It also could be one of those checks he's decided to write off as, if it's there, I'm lost anyway. But
in which case, he would have been right about almost everything in this seed.
Dr. Bob rushing through Ice Palace. Bonta's got Swamp down. Wady's just getting into Swamp. It's interesting. As of right now, I still say Bonta's got the lead. and then it's a close call right now between Wadey and Doctor for number 2.
And seeing all 3 of these runners in aquatic dungeons of the sort, or water-based, I suppose, behind the flippers, kind of indicative of what this whole seed was really about. Those flippers in Mimic Cave, quite a challenge for most runners here.
Yep. When we saw Solsky get those early, we thought that was a huge advantage for him. Unfortunately, though, it just let him off the case for the bow. Just let him completely off track.
And the sad part about all of it is that everything he's doing makes sense. You know, like, there's nothing, you know, that this is not bad, you know, play. Like, it kind of makes sense to write off that cave if you were already going to try and do something with more dense checks. But this is just kind of the natural unfolding of it. And, you know, you can't blame him for, you know, going through all of the other things you can do in Hyrule. That's pretty much the only smart way to play it. Either try to, you know, get that first place and have a really good high score to work with for the rest of your qualifiers, or you kind of bank on it being the one you throw away.
And I think Solsky, he's going to do, looking at his route, I think he's doing Pyramid Fairy to Catfish now.
It almost kind of seems like it's a play towards the format of these qualifiers. Solsky's been doing really well overall in the qualifiers, and being that his average score would be dropped a bit if it ended up being some kind of, like, you know, weird orphan location, as it turns out to be in this situation, it may be better for him to play towards completing that original decision. He would benefit the most if he ended up finding it early, and if it took the last, then, you know, he knows that he's going to have that written off.
So he didn't decide to do Pyramid Fairy just yet. Is he gonna do the? Did he do the front of escape already? He had to at least do Dark Cross for the mitts. He might not have done the rest of the front of escape though. Oh, he couldn't do red. He couldn't do the Pyramid Fairy pods, the other red crystal. So Dr. Bob's on cold stare.
For a second there, I thought Solsky was going to Aghanim to get that shovel.
Oh, that would have... Man. He might be thinking that. We'll see what he does after the front of escape.
Dr. Bobtastic still in a position to potentially secure a good advantage here with this cold stare fight. Will be just Palace of Darkness away from Ganon's Tower. However, Banta hotness heals.
Banta is about to get his 7th crystal.
Yeah, really nothing else to look for here in Ice Palace, so immediately down to the boss, and it just goes to show you how fast this dungeon can be. Speaking of high fives, Weighty Words and Dr. Bobtastic exchanging words through the portals as Weighty Words jumping into Ice Palace and Dr. Bobtastic on the way to Palace of Darkness now.
And that's cold stare down for Banta. He's gonna grab his 7th crystal. And we have a game we like to play in this scenario. Not gonna be official today, but I'll let you go through it, Yuda.
Well, there are a handful of locations in Ganon's Tower, 23 of them, I believe, right? With
20...
a potential...
Actually, 22.
22 of them, actually. And they can potentially have the Ganon's Tower big key. You need the big key and a small key to go up the tower to securely and safely go up the tower. We want to know where you think that big key is at, so you already see people streaming those numbers in. Go ahead and throw your guess, 1 through 22. 23, of course, is the big chest. And we'll see where it's going to be. What do you think it's going to be, JP?
I always go for number 15.
15 is a strong choice, and it would provide the most diversity for our runners to potentially exchange leads. So on that note, given the crazy variability of this seed, I'm going to call 22 Tower.
That would make things pretty interesting. It'll most likely be the last chest that people check, unless they decide to go for the Tower Room Gamble, which some do.
That would be so bonkers if that won a race.
And it looks like chat's not the nicest to you. A couple people had some words for you there.
Yeah, whatever. Honestly, sometimes, you know, you go through that spiel enough times, you just kind of forget numbers.
Yeah, that's true.
We gotta find some new way to deliver that. I think everybody relies on the same kind of like, delivery for that. I mean, we're a creative community. There's gotta be some better way to say it.
So, weighty words almost at cold stare. Dr. Bob just has to find the big key, then he can go to Helmasaur. I don't remember where the big key is in here. Well, I think Banta is a link between worlds right now.
Yeah, the unfortunate technicality of streaming sometimes freezes a frame in a funny space. And Banta absolutely stuck in what appears to be a painting, actually. It's a non-moving image.
Fair enough, Chad. He's a Moogle between worlds.
A Moogle between frames?
That also works.
Look, I'm not trying to paint you a picture about this game. I'm just saying it's not doing much.
Okay, we get Banta right back just in time to see him go into GT. Chest 1, a small key. Chest 2, a small key. And Solski's doing Aga.
Well, this really feels like a go for broke sort of thing out of Solski. Kind of recognizing the situation he's in, I'm guessing.
Got Banta in GT. Weighty's almost there. Weighty versus Banta could end up coming right side versus left.
Yeah, we are absolutely within that margin of error. And depending on how deep in the dungeon it is.
There's 3, 4, 5, 6. Not on the right side. And yeah, I think for Solski, this is basically a go for broke scenario. He feels behind right now. He's just making a play. If it pays off, he probably wins this race. If it doesn't, he knows he's probably lost it.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those scenarios where you're gonna tensely look at IRC after everything you do, thinking somebody found that one item you're looking for. I mean, the more that a situation like this goes on, the worse it feels as a runner. So a lot of credit to Solski for still moving through Hyrule and clearing things as effectively as he is. I would be a shambles myself.
So there's chest 10. Chest 11. Weighty's entering GT. If he goes full left, he could make up some time right now.
Yeah, it's not that far apart, considering everything. And even if he just checks the 2 in Hope room, that would still be a pretty significant time save.
So that was chest 12 for Banta. Weighty is starting left. We'll see if he decides to do the other strat known as Dark Magician and Mire right after the Stalfos room.
And I never thought I'd see the day, but at 1 hour and 23 minutes, we have begun the Aga 1 cutscene.
So here comes 14 to 17 to Banta. Weighty is going to do the play. He's mirroring, going to do right side now. That was 14. There's the book at 15. 16. 17. Weighty could still make us some time if he goes full right. We'll see.
Yo, shout out to Banta going for the chest turns. Unfortunately, if you drop even a single chest turn, you have lost all the time you ever saved from chest turns. So, immediately losing that time, but it still looks sweet.
Alright. We got Bob's chest coming up next, chest 18. Bob is the name of this little anti-fair we have in here.
Yeah, and I'm sure in this situation, Dr. Bobtastic will save his namesake.
Bob is on his way up to GT right now. Wady's going full right. So he could still save a little time here if the big key is back here. 19 to 21 coming for Bonta as soon as this red guard goes down. Never mind, he mirrored. And there's your big... Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Base location, the big key down here.
Yep, chest 19. Bonta's beginning his climb.
Even with all these things considered, we're not exactly invulnerable, and Gen's Tower is a difficult section of the game. I have no doubts that Bonta and Weighty Words and Dr. Bobtastic and Solsky have the capability of doing, an effective Gen's Tower clear. They are the featured runners on the restream, of course. But things happen in Gen's Tower, and it's probably the most frustrating segment of the game in any, context. So there's still time for this to turn around.
So Solsky's gonna pick up his shovel. We know whatever it leads to won't be important. Bob is about to enter GT. Bonta's beginning the proper section of the gauntlet. I believe this is where a lot of people say the gauntlet truly begins.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the Strat Hub lists this room as Gauntlet 1, that first fight.
Let's see what Solsky digs up. It's just some rupees. What's his play gonna be? I think he's gonna go finish Thieves Town now.
And judging by the way he was moving on the map, I think he's very cognizant of the fact that there's still Spiral Cave out there. To me, looking at that alone, it does seem like Solsky knows exactly what was on the table for him.
Yeah, I think he knows at this point that he's in trouble.
Quite a downfall as well, because, I mean, he was in such a commanding position for so much of the race. That's a tough break. I mean, but then again, Solsky's a resilient runner. He obviously has won a lot of races in the past and has been doing really well in these qualifiers. So I'm sure that there's going to be another qualifier coming up soon where he pulls off the entire logic chain and makes everybody else look silly. That very nearly happened today.
Yeah, it was just such an awkward scenario where the bow and the flippers were. You had the bow in Spiral Cave, the flippers in Mimic Cave. There was no clean way to route both at the same time. And if you got one, you were going to follow that logic chain and try to find the other through that first. I mean, that's basically what every runner did. Bonta, Weighty, and Dr. Bob, when they... Oh, Dr. Bob got grabbed. But yeah, when they found the bow, they immediately started following that chain. And did basically the exact same thing as Solsky. It paid off for them a little bit better. And almost like flippers being their go mode was almost a good thing because it kept them out of swamp and ice.
Yeah, and those are fantastic to go mode. I mean, that's probably the best value you can get out of a flipper's go mode. Knowing that both are required as well, probably something that a lot of people don't like to see initially.
So Chad's kind of yelling at me about something here now. You could have grabbed the flippers at Mimic Cave, and then you could have mirrored and gone into Spiral Cave.
Oh, that is on the same level. Well, I mean, here's the thing, is that's a fringe scenario that Solsky went after, and I don't think that I would have thought to do that in that scenario, although now that you mention it, I'm sure that if he ever has to go through Turtle Rock again, he's going to absolutely crush that.
Yeah, that's not a thing I'd never even think of either. But yeah, you could have done that. But like you said, it's such a fringe scenario. If you're going through Turtle Rock, there's like almost never a scenario where you would think to do that. This just happened to be that 1 in a million scenario where it would have paid off huge.
You know what, though? It's pretty awesome that we got to see that on Restream, just for the fact that everybody here today that didn't know that learned something.
Just to kind of further explain for chat, I think there's a few questions. Basically, you leave Mimic, we go back into your portal outside of Mimic, go right across the bridge, and mirror again in front of Spiral. But Banta's got Agatu down. He's going into the Ganon fight first.
And loaded for bear. Only thing that you would ever won this fight that we don't have, I guess, is red mail or gold sword if you want a guaranteed 1+1 fight.
So Solsky got through Thieves Town. He's got the green pendants.
Do you think he checks that first? I think he checks that first.
Absolutely, he checked that first. Dr. Bob's picking up his big key to GT. Oh, he's gonna go check Graveyard Ledge. Banta's down to 1 heart. He's through the worst of the fights. He does have to be careful though. Just one more slash, then you can just start doing his silvers.
The biggest enemy here is fire bats. I mean, that could be pretty easy to get hit by when you don't expect it to be at a certain angle. Sometimes Ganon does a short warp, and that's the biggest threat.
But set up for a perfect triple, and Ganon is down. Banta's going to be the first of our restream to get across the bridge. We'll find out in a minute where he finished in the race.
That was a very excellent triple shot to finish it out, and nearly a sub 90 almost, which given the seed, holy moly.
Yep, Banta finished in first place with an official time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, 51 seconds. First on the restream, first in the race. Get your GGs in chat for him. Meanwhile, Wadey is on Aga 2. Dr. Bob's about to enter the gauntlets.
And Solsky's rounding out, in his unfortunate situation, he's going to round out the rest of the checks that we didn't actually get to see. And I can't blame him. That's just the thing you got to do in this scenario.
And we found our gold sword.
What was that one old story about swords and pawns and circles, round tables, something like that?
King Arthur, I think.
Yeah, King Solsky here, making sure that we do find out what happened to that 4th sword. Not the spin-off game, just the item in this game.
We've got weighty words now.
It's definitely not a spin-off game because you don't want to spin with gold sword anyway.
We've got Wadey in the Ganon fight. He's on phase 3 through the worst of it. Solsky did his green pendant turn in. Dr. Bob on land mode 2. And Solsky's climbing. He's heading for Spiral Cave. I don't know. He's going to probably Spike Cave first.
I think he did Spike Cave.
Oh, I think you're right, yeah. I think he's the only one that did Spike Cave.
Oh, okay, yeah, this is pretty quick to get to with the hammer.
But that's Ganon down for Wadey. As soon as he crosses that bridge, we'll get his official finish in time. So Wadey Ward's official finish at the time of 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 40 seconds. Unfortunately, in 3rd place, as he got sniped by ZZZ Cube, finishing with a time of 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 36 seconds.
A 4-second snipe. Wow, congratulations, ZZZ Cube. That's incredible to be able to get that narrow of a margin. Now, of course, it's the actual scoring for the entire qualifier race itself is based on the top 3 finishers and the average time between the 3 of them. So while Banta may have finished a few minutes ahead of the other 2, it will not have a net huge impact on the overall scoring for everybody else. Looks like Solsky Finding something in
Solsky
the chest.
found the bow, and we can now confirm Solsky has forfeit from the race. He forfeit basically right after finding that bow.
Just to clarify as well, if this is the first time you've seen many of these qualifiers, these runners are on a stream delay as well, a 20-minute stream delay. So while we have had an opportunity to see a couple of these things in, say, IRC, we're trying to update you on them as they're showing up live on your end.
So we got Dr. Bob facing off against Moldorm 2. Oop, he enraged Moldorm. Yeah, that was a tough run for Solsky. He was in such a good position, and then it just fell apart, leaving that bow behind.
You know what? On a level though, like because he did forfeit like right after that bow, I get the feeling that he was just determined to find it at that point. It wasn't really. I mean, he could have probably made that decision sooner, but absolutely just wanted to finish the scene. I resonate with that, like just figuring out the logic and then having the answer.
And we are now joined by Solsky and Weighty Words in the booth here. GG, guys.
Hey, GG's.
Great race.
Yeah, good game.
Solsky, that bow. How are you feeling about that bow?
Fine. Am I
It took
supposed
a
to be
little while,
mad,
but
or?
it seemed like it almost seemed like you kind of knew that location was, you either had to play to that being nothing or that being everything.
Not really. No, that's actually wrong. What happened is just the incredible item chain leading to flips without Fire Rod. And I originally wanted to run into Spiral, but with TR taking me deep to Mimic, I lost my travel to it. So it's either an extra minute and a half to one item or a minute and a half to several locations that has much greater item density, chasing for 2 items. At that point too, I had 2 crystals ahead as well, so I felt extremely comfortable with the play, to be honest. So no, it's not like putting it off or thinking about that one item. It's more just an educated gamble, and it just didn't pay off.
We kind of rationalized that while we were going through the race, is that it made a lot more sense to just continue on, because if it was
Right.
something bad, no point in dwelling on it at that point. You might as well try to figure it out elsewhere.
No, and I kind of have a good mental check of like where I am in a race. Bigger race, primarily 1v1s is really strong, but just as it kind of get closer, and then I found Fire Rod free, I was like, ugh. TRR was actually the bigger concern, but I couldn't play to it. I had to keep diversifying away from it, if that makes sense, just because if I chased that at that point, then I risk like top 5 in a qualifier that rewards top 5 at this point. So
It's a really interesting rewatch. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd be fascinated how different like your route was for everybody else in the restream. I'm curious to see how it played out for everybody else in the
I wouldn't be
overall
surprised.
race, because I mean, there was definitely a lot of spread in the overall finishes.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the current meta being like West Dark World first almost always, right? And having that Fire Rod would have been so good. It's just really funny that I was able to get to flips without Fire Rod. At the time, I thought that, with all those flip locations opened, I was going to be golden, but it just didn't happen today. So.
Yeah, I
It
didn't even
happens.
realize that it was not Fire Rod locked until like later. I was like, huh, wait, this actually wasn't Fire Rod locked, so I kind of banked on other people not dipping Thieves Town, but
Yours truly.
everybody goes into the first 4 of Thieves Town. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
A quick update on the stream. Dr. Bob has taken down Ganon, and Dr. Bob finished in 4th place in this race at the time of 1:38.33. Yeah, Dr. Bob, we'll probably get him in here very shortly. Weighty, let's hear some more of your thoughts. You basically, the other 3 runners, you all got bow first, and basically all left Death Mountain right after finding that.
Mhm.
I mean, it's probably a similar thing. You have checks to make with the bow, correct?
Yeah, I really wanted to go into Turtle Rock, and my plan was to do it until I found that bow and spiral. And I just decided to make the safer play, just going to a crystal dungeon instead of going for a pendant. At that point, it just didn't pay off.
And we're also joined in chat now with Dr. Bob. GG.
Believe it or not, I did pretty well, although I still finished last on Restream. I'm pretty sure it won't happen again. Why could it be? I basically luck sacked that seed.
You know, Dr. Bobtastic, it's one thing to be last on Restream, but you're not last in the race, and that's actually what matters in this scenario. So congratulations on your fourth place.
Yeah,
You might not feel great on Restream.
no,
but
it feels amazing. I have never, I did not expect this at all.
Well, I don't think any of us were expecting them. I mean, we all know you have good pipes, but I mean, we were expecting that too, and that was pretty good.
I mean, I'll give you even a little more congrats. You were the first runner to actually hit go mode.
You know, I kind of figured I was, just because I was like, there is literally no way someone went to Spiral Cave first to get the bow and then went into Turtle Rock. And I did it anyway.
That's right. Yeah, you didn't even leave Turtle Rock after getting the bow. You went straight for Turtle. Or you didn't leave Spiral. You didn't leave Death Mountain after getting the bow. You went straight to Turtle Rock after that.
Yep.
It was a really weird configuration for everybody, though, because, I mean, there was a really strange, eclectic mix of, like, Fire Rod, Ice Rod, and the other components for traversing the mountain. Everybody had a different reason to be approaching, like, Turtle Rock at the time they did. And for most of the race, we saw all four of you in different corners of Hyrule and Dark World. It was really fascinating to watch. I think all of you guys are going to really love rewatching this.
Oh, yeah. I don't think anyone was particularly surprised by the hookshot's location. It likes to be in there.
I definitely was expecting to find hookshot in there for sure.
Yeah. What else? I was kind of worried about the possibility of having to do like shenanigans to get over to East Dark World because of Hammer at Pyramid Fairy, but I was like, nah. But then I realized that's not possible because I'm dumb.
Can I take over the interview for a sec?
Go ahead.
Weedy, you want food. What are you getting?
I don't know yet. I might go get a sandwich from Jersey Mike's or something right now. That sounds really good.
I'm getting pizza. I'm starving. I haven't had much to eat today, so
Yeah.
pizza's on the menu.
Pizza also
It's
sounds
quick
good.
and late. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, the important question is
I mean-
what kind of pizza?
It's Pizza Hut. It's Pizza Hut. I'm feeling like a good, nice, kind of greasy one right now, so it's good.
I like
Deep
their
dish,
pans.
of course.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going with.
We
Those
actually-
are the
no
real questions
pineapple,
with the
no.
real answers. Oh,
We
I
have-
love you so much for that.
Soski, we do have a question from the race.
Shoot.
What is the flavor of a blueberry eggplant?
Next question.
I'm so glad you remembered that.
It's a great. It was a great seed, though. I think overall it was pretty fun. Could have been a little bit better, but again, like, I don't want to sound like a broken record. It just happens sometimes. So,
Yeah,
but you guys had some really killer times on it, so that was pretty good to see. So it's good.
and I mean, with the way the qualifiers go, you've got a race to basically blow. I mean, it hurts still, but you know this isn't going to kill you overall.
No, I've done quite well already. It's again, you're allowed to drop one, or the way the qualifier works is it will drop your worst race anyways. So that's why I was just like, I'm probably not getting top 10, or I'm just squeaking it, and even then the time's off. So I was like, let's just rest up.
Yeah, and looking at the overall standings walking into this, I mean, currently fifth place in a very, very narrow margin for the top 10, really. You're in a great position to, land top 3. It makes sense to kind of approach the whole qualifiers with a give and take one scenario. It's been impressive to watch you so far, so I have every reason to believe you got some great races ahead of you still.
Thanks. Yeah, it's just sometimes it's like poker, right? Like it just sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I mean, I don't want to rub anything into this, but chat was actually yelling at me about one possibility you could have done, and that was after Mimic Cave, you could have walked to the left across the bridge and re-mirrored in front of Spiral Cave. I didn't even think of that myself. That's like such
None
a
of us
fringe
did.
scenario. Yeah.
You know,
Wow,
that's the
that's
thing.
a
I wouldn't.
yikes.
I wouldn't have even thought of that. Holy crap!
That's
now that we've
that
all
just blew my
experienced it.
mind. That blew my mind.
Yeah, that's
the guy
some-
with like 600 or 600 plus races under his belt didn't even think of that. So whoops.
That's some next level Galaxy Brain strats right there.
That's so cool. I gotta remember that.
Unfortunately, we're spoiling it early, so now everybody's going to do it. But
Yeah. So one of the things with these qualifiers for me is, so I'm gonna try my best. I'm not gonna make the top 10 or whatever it is that qualifies for the brackets automatically, but I may have to. If I don't qualify for the brackets, which is very unlikely, I will probably have to skip a race in the group stage because I can't make it to the thing until like Friday afternoon.
that's also a good thing to bring up. You know, while the top 3 do have that great incentive to, you know, place really well in this is functionally a seeding for the actual brackets at SG Live. Those of you who are tuned in after our introduction, so this is still relevant for literally everybody who's in the qualifiers that plans to attend. You don't have to attend to participate in the qualifiers if you want to shoot for those top 3 positions. There are still, I believe, 7 more races after this that you can participate in. You only have to sign in, or you only have to register for these races at least 30 minutes before they start. So there's still chances for everybody out there. If you're in the chat wondering if this is your opportunity to go attend a live event, give it a shot.
Yeah, actually, I believe the way it works is the top 3 get some of their travel subsidized, plus they'll automatically be in the bracket. Everybody else, they're basically playing for seeding going into the group stage that will be happening there. I believe there is a short group stage that happens before the brackets.
And there is more information about all of that. If you look, there might be a link posted soon in chat, but there is a separate Discord that SpeedGaming is running for the SG Live event. You can find more information on that and the other tournaments there as well.
But I think we probably should let these start wrapping up. Let these runners head out. Any final thoughts from any of you guys?
No, thanks a lot for having me, and I'll see you all at the event.
Yeah, thanks for commentating, guys, and hosting. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate it as always, and catch you guys around.
Same.
Thank you
See you
all,
guys.
you guys. I'm gonna update you a little on the race too for some of the other finishes. We had Tail at 5th place at 140 even, Sir Link-A-Lot in 6th place at 140.41, 1UP in 7th at 143.29, Dante at 8th at 144.18, Ace00187 at 145.37, and scrolled a little too far down. Gus rounds out our top 10 at 146. And we did also have a handful of forfeits. I count 2 other forfeits other than Solski. So this race did get to some of these runners today.
And of course, if you're looking for more information about other randomizer on SpeedGaming, you know, there's plenty to be found in the SpeedGaming regular Discord. But as far as this channel goes for the rest of the night, we have another randomizer coming up at 10 p.m. Mega Man 2 randomizer between Squidman and Charlie Boy. So that's going to be available for you for viewing pleasure tonight. Currently, there should be SG Live qualifiers for Zelda Ocarina of Time randomizer on SpeedGaming 2. And SpeedGaming 3 at 10 p.m. will also have a Z1 randomizer weekly race. That's like a practice for the tournament.
And then for our next qualifier for the Link to the Past randomizer, SpeedGaming Live, that will be tomorrow at 3:15 p.m. So if you want, that'll be when our restream is. The race will actually start about 3 o'clock. If you want to join that, make sure to sign up in the SG Live Discord using the form there.
And yes, of course, make sure if you do sign up, it's by 2:30 because we do count the 20-minute stream delay as well. So you want to make sure you're half an hour before the actual race itself would start. Well, I think that's pretty much everything we got for business here. Just a quick shout outs. Thanks again to our 2 trackers today, Zombie Punk and Oro. And of course, all of our runners for participating and being on the restream. Absolute privilege to watch and a pleasure to commentate. Keep an eye out for them. Give them a follow. They are all very competitive in this qualifier. And people to watch both here and likely all of them at the live event, I would imagine, based on what we've seen so far, and I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks as well for joining me today here on Comms, Yuta.
It was a pleasure, JP. From us here in the commentary booth to all of you speed gamers out there around the world, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good night.